I'm an advocate for therapy, right? Because you can't look at yourself in an unbiased way.
Right.
Like you can't be my client because we know each other from school. I can't help you without that bias. And so I feel like it's the same way when you looking in the mirror. But I also feel like even before then, I think journaling is very important. If something, like, we have to start to normalize, like, when something is like, you're turning the wheels in your head and you can't figure out what it is, put it on paper, because your fingers move slower than your mind. So even if you don't know why you're feeling this way, even slowing down, like, your emotional, like, regulation, slowing down, even like your heart rate, to figure out, okay, this is how I feel. I feel like that's a start, because even if you decide to go to therapy, now it's like, okay, these are the things that I notice about myself. I'm getting angry when this happens. I get sad when this happens. So for sure, journaling and therapy.
What you drink, yeah. Sapphire Bombay, only what you think, yeah. Looks like we'll be tied up for some weeks, yeah. Lockdown, can't see no end. Top down, but we rollin', we all in. What you drink, yeah. Sapphire Bombay, only what you think, yeah. Looks like we'll be tied up for some weeks, yeah. Lockdown, can't see no end. Top down, but we pourin', we all in. I'm taking it slow, ain't no time for no hold up. I thrust in the slow, then the whoop beat that up. Bust a cloud like a bomb. Yeah, I'm a
Welcome back, you beautiful people out there, to part 2. How are you? ... I'm good. We got a special guest. Very, very special guest.
Very, very special.
Very special guest. You know what I'm saying? We about to get into it today. Following up on our last conversation, we're getting into how to practically handle mental health, the stigma around mental health in the Black community. But now today, we're going to discuss what does it actually look like? Like, people that are going through it, people that have been through it, life traumas.
Being real.
Being
authentic.
Real authentic. And that's, when we talk about per my last, authenticity is definitely at the forefront. So without further ado, Imani G.
Imani G.
Imani G. Give us,
Period.
we love you. You know what I'm saying?
Love y'all.
Big sis, we love you forever. But those people out there in the world, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Who you are, where you from,
What I do.
what you do. You know what I'm saying? Give them a little something.
Okay, so my name is Imani, but my friends know me as Imani G, as you guys might have heard. I am a Workday financials consultant for Deloitte. Although I do work for them, my views are not of Deloitte, so I'm just throwing that out there as a disclaimer. Outside of work, I am an activist. I am a friend to many. I am a therapist. I feel like, not licensed, but I'm a therapist to my friends, and I'm just somebody who loves life and loves the people around me, and just wants to see the best in everybody. And I'm really glad that I am here today to talk to you about mental health, because people think it's this pretty picture, but it's far from. So let's just get into the nitty gritty.
Let's get into the nitty gritty, and I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna preface this conversation before we really dive into it. For those who don't know Imani, right? Beautiful soul, definitely a sister to many, a therapist to many. And look, we've talked about it. It's like, Imani is definitely queen of putting everyone before herself. Yeah. So I think you are perfect when I think about this episode, because
Before we even get into that, man, let's.
You want to get in?
Come on,
You're
I
right.
just need what we got on.
You right.
Drip check.
We know
right.
from the last time that you put this shit on.
And I love to put that shit on.
Don't swing that thing over your shoulder.
No, I'm not gonna swing the belt this time. Thank
you.
I'm on timeout. But real briefly, like I said, got the ones on. This is Zara's finest collection.
Okay, period.
I got a good trouser on right now.
Oh my goodness.
One of my Throwback Thursdays, DMX got to throw it on my body. You know what I'm saying? I'm always iced up because you already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? And when I say you know what time it is, I got the Rolex on the wrist. I got the Rollie on the wrist.
Everybody's not able.
Hey, look. And
Okay.
and everybody's not fortunate, but that's okay.
That's what we're here for.
Talk to him, brother.
We went through this already. This is part 2, of course. Same thing. Iced up, Balmain.
Balmain? Is that Balmain?
Ball in Maine. Some simple trousers, as my man said, and some loafers and
the AP. We love a good trouser.
We do love a good trouser.
But we're really here for you.
Yeah, tell us what you have on.
YS.
Your basic pantsuit from your local Macy's. You know how to keep it simple in the drip, but I have the Michael Kors watch. And then the staple piece of my fit
I see some Gucci.
is my Gucci glasses.
Frames.
Yes. My 9 West shoes.
I see some Gucci frames.
Period. For my YSL bag. Okay. This was my first big girl purchase. Okay.
It's giving wealth.
Oh,
It's giving prosperity.
Because it's flowing.
It's giving financial freedom.
Ooh.
Pursuit of happiness.
That's it.
Yeah, it's giving all of that.
I'm gonna name her Pursuit. I was trying to figure out what name her is. Pursuit.
Name her Pursuit.
Pursuit.
Amen. Like an amen. Yes.
Amen.
I love it.
All right, well, let's get into it, right?
Let's go.
I mean, it doesn't get any more authentic than this. I mean, to have someone on this in this space that you can be real with. I mean, we've been through a lot together. And as family, I think that's what makes people close. Well, relationships need to go through some sort of trauma. But we experience that individually and collectively.
We've been friends since, 2013?
Look, that's when I got to Mizzou. Yeah.
Yeah,
you took me in with open arms.
And I mean, and that's the thing, right? There's certain people in the world that you can be genuine with, but there's certain people in the world that give that genuine spirit to you. And when I think of individuals, you're the first person that comes to mind. Right. Of always being able to look out for people, to always put someone else first, but that comes with a price.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Right? So when you're always there for people, that takes a toll on yourself, right? And so we really here to ask the question of the whole podcast of this episode is, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
She got the assignment.
I am good.
I'm good. And I think that's the answer I give so many because I'm not comfortable opening up to many.
Vulnerability.
But I'm gonna keep it real with y'all.
Because you know what time it is.
I am okay. And I think that I've done a lot of work on myself to make myself be okay. And I say that meaning I've spent the time with myself to learn my triggers, to learn what sets me in a spiral, to learn what causes my anxiety to flare up, what causes me to overthink. And I've gotten to a point in my life where no matter what's going on around me, I can recenter to my peace. It hasn't always been like that. So I'm telling you all I'm okay, and I'm genuinely okay. My world is in flames. Yes. Yes, it is in flames. However, I am okay.
You can handle it a bit
because
better.
I can handle it better.
Mm-hmm.
Your capacity.
My capacity.
So how do you get to that point, right? Because at one point, it's okay to not be okay. Mm-hmm. But to everyone else, you go into society on a day-to-day basis and you're putting on this front that you're good.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard for me because everybody expects me to show up as Imani G. Everybody expects me to come in rooms and bring the atmosphere, to come in places and bring the vibes. And yes, I can do that, but I can't provide vibes for anybody else until I provide vibes for myself. Nice. And I think realizing that really has helped me put a lot of things into perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's those not necessarily shutting the world down, but shutting the world down in a healthy way, right? To be able to spend time with myself has been the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And I would say, although the pandemic, everyone hates the pandemic, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Mm-hmm. Because I think that I was always on the go, that I didn't know how to spend time with myself. And I thought that just doing things and being there for everybody I needed to be there for was me showing up. It was me showing up for them, but I never realized I had to show up for myself as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so learning how to show up for myself in times and spaces where it might not be the popular opinion, where everybody might be going outside, but it's no, me and my bed, we finna kick it tonight, okay? We finna sip on my champagne.
Do it like it's my B-day, baby.
Okay, period. Period. And I think just being able to have those moments with myself makes me value the time I spend with myself.
Amen.
We talked in the last episode, right, about self-reflection. And I think the pandemic, for most, you're inside, looking in the mirror a lot. But it takes a certain level of transparency to be real with yourself, right? And to even say, I don't need to go out. We talked about drawing boundaries, right? And looking out for yourself. I hear the saying all the time of you have to be able to put your mask on before you help anyone else. And to me, I have a really hard time accepting that because I also feel like I have the capacity to be there for others. And I feel like we share that mentality.
Yeah.
But let's unpack, like, what's some of the stuff that we've all been going through, because I think it's important, and for relatability purposes, everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
And there's no need to sit here and compare someone's trauma, because what are we doing that for? Right? So
I think we need to circle back to the original question that you asked earlier. We asked, Imani, how are you? How are you? Honestly.
yeah, I'm like, and that's the thing. I think what I struggle with, right, is the image that I've placed on, the pressure I put on myself, right? To be an attorney, to be in a space where you're here in a client-driven field. We're here for clients. I can't talk to my clients and sit here and say I'm not good. Like, I can't see, like, so when is the right context, right? And especially to be in a space where you want to be successful, seen as successful, be an inspiration to others, right? The whole brand that I created with Encourage You Too is to inspire, motivate, and encourage others. But I also realized that there's encouragement, inspiration, and motivation in being real and relatable. And what I originally thought the idea of motivation was just being a motivational figure all the time, being successful, and showing that all the time.
But how realistic is that?
Exactly. And I had to come to terms with that, because you're not always going to be that. And so we talked about redefining success. What does that look like? That was important for my mental health, because you're not always going to have an accolade. You're not always going to have great news, right? So how do we live every day as a success, even when you don't see those tangible results? And so for me, I think a lot of it's been my self-imposed pressure, but also learning that it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to be selfish. And I had to come to terms with that too, because you hear selfish in itself, and that's a
negative connotation.
It's a very negative connotation.
Exactly.
It's a negative connotation immediately. As soon as you hear the word selfish, you're like, I would hate somebody call me selfish.
Right.
It sounds bad. It feels bad,
So I think a lot of it's self-imposed, but I had to reflect on that too, and the pandemic brought that out, and to sit here and say, like, what is it that you're struggling with? And to be humble enough to ask for help.
I think that's huge. And my therapist kind of just dragged me about that too, about an hour ago. So I understand. And I think
it's fresh.
Fresh. And I think what got me, I was thinking, and I low-key think the conversation was with you, Khalil. And you said something to the point of, yes, Imani can be in everybody's stands and be and everybody's cheerleader. But who's gonna be in Imani's stand? Like, you spend all your time jumping from game to game, making sure everybody else is okay. But who is at Imani's game? And I didn't even stop to think about, like, well, what is my game right now? Because I was thinking my fulfillment comes from helping others and helping the people I love. I was so happy doing that I didn't realize that I was missing out on myself.
Right.
I have one life to live. Friends can come and go, okay? And the real ones will stay. And the real ones will understand. But what am I doing for myself? Then when the answer was nothing, I had to shake the table. I had to switch some things up.
Yeah, shake the room. I feel that.
So what about you, bro? How are you?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I'm just a
We know.
We know.
No,
but look, I got a little Keela in me, so I'm gonna keep it a buckaroo with you. To keep it real. Like, I'm always keep it. A band. I gotta keep it a one powwow. But I think for me it's like I'm mixed up right now, because it's like part of me, since the pandemic, since we're starting there, I've become probably more confident in myself than I've probably ever been in my life. Like, if anybody knows me, I'm a confident individual. When I step in the room, I'm talking my shit 24/7. I'm probably not even called I'm probably called boastful, not humble. Okay, sure, but you know, I don't have any regrets about it. But I think, and this is me being vulnerable. I think like a lot of my confidence is bravado. Like I'm a very insecure individual. Well, I have been a very insecure individual for a majority of my life because I used to really care about what everybody thought about me. So I'm like, it's the pros and cons to it. Like I'm stepping in. I'm like, I gotta make sure people like me. Like, I have to feel liked. I love to feel loved. That's like probably one of my greatest weaknesses. I need to feel love from people, or I don't feel satisfied, right? And now it's like gotten to a point where, like, on one end, I'm so self aware. I know who I am that I don't give a fuck. Like,
Period.
I'm a stepper. I'm a stepper through and through, you know. So it's
Southside
like,
rapper.
you feel me? So it's like now it's like I'm so aware of who I am that if you don't realize it or you don't understand it, you're not peeping what I'm bringing to the table, then move around, like shake, and I'm cool with it. Like I'm so like emotionally detached from people. It's like whatever. But on the other side of the spectrum, other side of the coin, I'm like I have these days where I'd be like, fuck, like I'm really sad, like. Cause this year looks nothing like it did a year ago.
It didn't, and I love your journey, and I'm glad that I've been here to witness.
It looks nothing like it did a year ago. Like my life, the conversation I was having a year ago, it's nothing like it is right now. And it's like now I'm like, how do I move forward as this new Khalil with this new path that it wasn't necessarily formulated by me. Life took a turn for where it turned for, and I now have to deal with it because the horses don't stop, they keep going. Shout out to Thugger.
Okay.
It's like shit is just so different now. Like I didn't prepare for it. I like to be the puppet master in my life. I like to control everything, and I had no control in where I am right now. So it's like, how do I handle that? Like,
well, I think right now, like I know there's a lot to touch on. I mean, there's so much we can really get to, but for the sake of time, specifically, like I'm interested to know what got you to where you are now, right? Your traumas defined you, your experiences, your life experiences defined you. Mm-hmm. So you two specifically, like I know you personally, but the world doesn't, right? But I think it's important to lean into that to be able to know who you are and where you're going. Right, so what's some of the things you feel like you've been through that defines who you are and you as well?
It's okay. We're here.
December 22nd, 2016. I was talking to my dad. This last conversation we had, and he was asking me about what coat did I want for Christmas, like some stupid shit. I'm like, bro, just give me. I don't care. Like, and I was being a dickhead, so I'm like, I don't really care. Like, it's whatever. I'm gonna see you for Christmas, so I don't care what you buy me. Last conversation we had a heart attack. Since that moment, I've been fucked. Like, realistically, I have not. I mean, even now, like, it's 5 years later, I still get a little choked up about it, but I handle it better now. But it's like, even then, that moment, that was like my best friend. That was my dog. Like, and a lot of people don't know because like, everybody hasn't met my father, but that was my dog. Like, I'm literally him now in life. I look in the mirror, I see myself to a T. I see him, and I've accomplished so much in life that he literally waited for, and he never saw. Now that in itself kills me because I'm like, it like part of it is like I have to keep going, right? I have to keep striving to be who I know he saw me as or who he pictured me as. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to. I don't want to because the man that I was doing it for and literally who I was living for is no longer here. So it's like, what's the purpose? But I say all that to say, and I've been going to therapy about this shit. To say all that to say, the biggest thing for me is like he had a vision for me. He did everything he could to like push me in that direction. So I feel like I would almost be disrespectful to waste that away, right? Like, graduated college. That was just step one. Working at Google. I'm pretty sure if he was here right now, he'll be
Ecstatic.
oh my
Okay.
God. He would be literally probably, he's an emotional ass dude. He would have been probably crying every day. But it's like those moments, like I look back to the moments that I had with him, and I'm like, I just have to I have to make you more proud in your absence, because there's still people here on earth who live for you, that remember you, that still hit me up to this day, that check in on me on your behalf. And I know, like, I done been through so much crap after his passing that I'm like, why I'm still here? Like, you're watching over me. Whether, you know, a lot of people probably might not be spiritual or religious or whatever, but I know there's a higher power at work for whatever my purpose in life is. And he's playing a role in that. So that enough is like, I'm cool. Like, I have to keep taking it. I got to take it up another level, because you proud now, you ain't seen shit yet. Like,
It's just the beginning.
we just scratching the surface.
Period.
That's it. But that moment alone, that literally redefined my path. And as hurt as I am about it, I can't be more grateful than I am right now for it, because I don't think that I would be the person I am without that experience in itself.
Facts.
I agree.
It's getting real. I'm getting hot.
Spicy.
It is getting hot. Okay, so
You made me hot.
y'all, we could talk about life before 2013, but we're not gonna do that. I think the defining moment for me was June 22nd, 2013. I lost my grandfather. And the biggest moment for me in that is I never took the time to grieve. I didn't find out till after I graduated college that I never grieved his loss. And I just kept going, and I kept doing, and I kept being available for people and not being available for myself. And my grandfather was like my father. I do have a father, not to throw shade to him, but like, my grandfather was that rock. He was my best friend. I remember at my grandfather's funeral, my grandma said, I knew that I wasn't his favorite person, and I knew that he didn't love me the most, but I knew that you were both of those things, so I was okay with it. That's just to show the connection that me and my grandfather had. And after that, life didn't really make sense. I had lived with my grandfather for years too, so it wasn't just kind of a normal relationship. Like, that was my father, and I think that was a real defining moment. And I feel like I gave up on a lot of things in that moment, but I also kept going in a lot of things in that moment. And I feel like I gave up on myself, but I kept going for everybody else. Then after that, I kind of rebounded into a very toxic 5-year relationship. And that also had a lot to do with it. And my therapist told me today that I don't have to blame him or blame myself, but I do have to deal with the trauma that relationship caused me. So although it was some years ago, I'm still trying to process and deal with that stuff now. And then one of the biggest parts is the movement. I am very, very active in the Black Lives Matter movement. I was at Mizzou, and I was in Chicago for several movements. And I got diagnosed with PTSD after leaving Mizzou. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, the protests at Mizzou gave me PTSD. I was literally I had to check in with somebody every day during the movement, like right after the movement, just so they could make sure like I was good. It was a lot that happened. And then coming back to Chicago, it was a lot that happened as well. Like, people think it was just me on the front lines. No, my family was getting threatened on the back end as well. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like, when you commit your life to the movement, you are literally committing your life to the movement and everybody else around you. So I've recently decided to never pick up a bullhorn again for various reasons. And one being that someone broke it down to me the best way. They said, you've laid the foundation for the next generation to pick up. Just because they're not picking up the baton does not mean that you have to stand there and hold it. And I think that was the best advice I've ever gotten in my life, because the anxiety, the depression, the everything that comes with me out there on the front lines, no one sees that. No one sees that, because Juneteenth 2020 caused me to about a 6-month depression. After that Juneteenth protest that I did, it was about 4 to 5,000 people in the middle of a pandemic, and people don't realize when you're on the front lines in those moments, you carry the weight and you carry the burdens of everybody that was there. And so I think those were the 3 biggest things that have kind of led to my mental health kind of being in the state that it is. Like recently, like today, a couple months ago, I lost my little cousin. He was 21 years old when he passed away. And being in the hospital with him on his last couple of days, helping my aunts plan the funeral, that has been a life-changing situation. So when people say, how are you? I'm okay, because I'm still numb from that. Okay? If you want me to keep it real, that's as real as I can get. I am not okay. My baby cousin should be walking down the street right now. He should be hanging out with his friends. He should be about to go to a day party tomorrow, but he's not. He spent 4 years of the last 4 years of his life pretty much in the hospital the majority of the time, and we lost him. And I think that causes me not to be okay, but that's okay. I'll get there.
Well, I think it's important because y'all are being as real as it gets, but for everyone that's going through something out there, what makes and define you guys, and really why you are here strong, and really why people can't tell is because of how you rebounded. Mm-hmm. Right? And how you deal with it, which again, it takes a certain level of reality, but also purpose and intention and being real with yourself to say how can I turn this into something that doesn't break me and destroy me, but I can be replanted in another environment to succeed. Mm-hmm. Right? And so how do you feel like you coped with it positively, negatively? How did you define those two? And what would you tell someone who's going through something?
Therapy. And I think that people run from therapy often because, number one, it's a negative connotation towards therapy. You don't have to be going crazy to go to therapy. You do not have to be going crazy to go to therapy. I'm going to say it one more time. You do not have to be going crazy to go to therapy. It's perfectly okay. And it's not about, do you have something going on? It's about literally striving to be the best version of yourself, right? And so I think a big way I was able to rebound was my therapist. She is great. I found her on therapyforblackgirls.com, literally spending a couple hours vetting them. And I found her, and we have been rocking ever since. And I think that another thing with therapy is not every therapist is for everyone. So just because you have one bad therapy experience or 2 bad therapy experiences, the 5th or 6th one might be the one that'll help you change your life. Mm-hmm. Keep going. Keep going. I have one therapist now, and then I had a therapist I worked with a couple years ago. Once I get some of my shit together with this one, I'm gonna go back to the other one because they do 2 different types of therapy work. So I think that therapy has been a big one, and also having people around you that will keep you going. That will give you an outlet to vent and have no judgment, and to help strive to be the best version of yourself. So I know me and Khalil, we have our wine nights every 2 weeks. We decompress about life, and we vent and we let it out. I know when I lost my job during COVID, and I had James, one of my friends. James literally got on the phone. He was like, okay, it's been a week since you lost your job. Where's your resume? Who do you know at what companies? Let's get this together. So having friends that also want you to succeed is very, very important. You can't have a circle of people who are just going to be okay with you sitting on the couch all day. That's not going to work out. That's not going to work out for you. You need to be surrounding yourself with people that love you, and that can love you more than you love yourself, because I understand the feeling of not loving yourself in some moments, which is okay. You can deal with that. But you need to have people around you who won't let you stay there. They need to come lift you up out of those moments. And I think therapy and my friends and having a praying mama Because my mama is tier 1 to Jesus. I don't care what nobody says. Vanessa Peoples is tier 1 to Jesus, and her prayers get answered quickly. 5 to 10 business days. We be having to wait. She don't. Okay? But she literally, and having people in your corner to intercede on your behalf. Because sometimes you're not strong enough, and it's okay not to be strong enough to fight your own battles. But you have to be surrounded by people who will fight them on your behalf. And that is the key.
So what you saying, and I love the points that you're touching on, because like your circle is so important, and being able to like handle some of the struggles that you go through on a day-to-day basis. But have you ever taken your personal life to the workplace? Like, have you ever been in a situation where like I know I'm going through it, but I know the job don't stop. These days don't stop for nobody. Like,
I'm gonna keep it a band.
Look, before you keep it a band, I know for a fact that there's just so many days where you just feel this desire or this almost pressure that you can't take a day off. Mm-hmm. Like, you have time off, but there's just this idea and this just pressure that you can't, right? And so we put on these capes of being just like Superman, Superwoman all the time, to where we just can't get to that point where we do draw those boundaries. Mm-hmm. And so I already know I take it into the personal workspace. Look, you say anything crazy to me,
per my last email, per my last
email. Okay, so I mean,
that's spicy emails.
I think that's important though.
Yeah. I think that I definitely have. I just started with Deloitte, in March. And I love my new team. I love my new project manager. And he said it best to me recently. He said, if a company like Deloitte can't function if you take a day off, we have bigger issues at hand. And he was like, at the end of the day, you'll never be able to perform on this project unless your mental health is taken care of. So he is on my ass. He's like, every 2 months, I need at least one PTO day from you, Imani. Which is okay. Which I needed to hear. At my old company, I really feel like my mental health caused me my job. It was said I was laid off due to COVID, but let's be honest, I was depressed. I had 2 of my best friends just lost their mom. I lost my other grandfather. I was trying to figure out how to deal with the pandemic. I found out my best friend and roommate was moving across the world. And I could not conceptualize life. And I'm the type of person, if I can't conceptualize it, it makes me feel real uncomfortable. And I was very depressed. I just came off of that Juneteenth protest. So it was a lot going on. And I feel like, yes, they might have said it nicely about the pandemic, but I feel like my depression would have caused me that job anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, social media, but this is my last point, like social media plays a huge role in all this, right? What we see is not always reality. Matter of fact, most of the time it's not reality.
If we're going to keep it a buck, people put only their best version of themselves on social media.
That's right.
People are transparent.
Oh.
And so I really encourage everybody to take the long approach, but being real with yourself is part of that process, right? And you can't cultivate a beautiful rose in a day. You can't cultivate a mansion in a day. The foundation that you're setting is the day-to-day, and when it's raining, you gotta go back out there and work. And if you want that mansion to be built, it's through those hard times, it's through those times when it's not always sunny outside, that growth, it can be in those spaces.
And I think that people often see the fruits of the labor.
That's right.
And they cling to what social media shows you, and they don't see the labor. Like, I tell people all the time, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses, because the Joneses, whether they have it or not, it does not affect you at any point in time of your life.
That's right.
Make the sacrifices now, so you can make the sacrifices now, so you can really ball out later in life.
Really do it.
Yep.
So you can really do it. You have to set yourself up for success.
Well,
on that note,
the toast to success.
Exactly. Let's toast to success. Let's toast to making it. Let's toast to not letting our struggles define who we are.
Ooh, period.
That's like episode 1.
It sounds like it. It sounds like
I
it.
got a
So
quote for you, Beyonce. Some call it arrogant. I call it confident. You will decide when you.
Hey, look, you never wrong. You leaving a little Beyonce. You never wrong. You leaving a little Beyonce.
My fellow Virgo queen, toast to you guys, to wearing, honestly, your experiences as a badge of honor, but honestly,
amen,
to making them who you are and thriving in the process. So, to you all, success, and thank you for coming.
Thank y'all for having me.
What you drink, yeah. Sapphire Bombay, only what you think, yeah. Looks like we'll be tied up for some weeks.